Adventures of the Decepticons Pet Ghost by Played Crowd 5610. Part 3 of Hunting the Nemesis. Chapter 17. Jazz. Summary. Danny and his sister have some catching up to do. Danny sat cross-legged on Jazz's small dorm bed, watching with a small smile as his older sister turned on the kettle and pulled out 2 china cups from her cupboard. Danny absentmindedly glanced around, looking over how neat and well-kept her dorm was. She was always organizing, always making sure everything was perfect. Danny remembered how much of a hell it was for her to live with their parents, leaving weapons, tools, and even just puddles of ectoplasm lying about the house. Her bedroom was her only safe space, and Danny was pretty sure it was the only clean room in that old house, lab, death trap of theirs. The faint scent of peppermint tea filled the air as he watched Jazz fill 2 cups with boiling water. She added some honey, tapped the spoon on the edge of the cup, and placed it into the sink, turning back around to Danny with a smile on her face. A cup in each hand. Despite the peaceful setting, Danny couldn't shake the anxiety that twisted in his gut. Danny hadn't been by in months. He hadn't contacted her in just under that. And now he owes her an explanation. So, Jazz finally sat down on her desk chair, spinning around to face him and passing him his cup of tea. "How've you been doing? I was worried. I haven't heard from you in a while." Her voice was gentle but filled with concern. Danny sighed, glancing up at her. "I'm fine, Jazz, really." Jazz narrowed her eyes, clearly unconvinced. "Fine, huh? You were basically homeless the last time I saw you. Where have you been staying?" He shifted awkwardly, rubbing the back of his neck. How was he supposed to explain this without sending his overprotective sister on into a full-blown panic attack? Well, about that. Promise me you won't freak out." Jazz raised an eyebrow. "Danny, you know that's not really helping me not freak out." "I'm serious," Danny pressed. "Just hear me out before you start yelling, okay?" Jazz leaned back in her chair, crossing her arms. "Fine, I promise. What's going on?" Danny took a deep breath. "Okay, so I've been staying with some, aliens?" He gave a light smile at the end. Jazz blinked at him, stunned for a moment. Then she stared at her brother, waiting to see if he would start laughing. He didn't. "Aliens? You've been staying with aliens?" she asked incredulously. Danny held up his hands in surrender, one still holding the mug. Look, I know it sounds insane, but we'll have seen weirder things than that, right? And they're not the, invade the world type. Well, not exactly. I mean, they did try and kill me at first, but they're actually kind of nice once you get to know them." Jazz's mouth opened and closed, trying to find the words. "You what?" "They're called Decepticons. Or, well, technically, their species is called Cybertronian. But they are basically giant, 30-foot tall robots." Then he continued, trying to keep his tone casual. "They're a little murderous, and most think humans are scum of the earth. But they also kinda started caring about me." Jazz blinked, clearly struggling to wrap her head around everything. "So you're living with a bunch of alien robots that want to kill you?" "In a giant spaceship, yes," Danny said. Jazz stared at him, looking dumbfounded. Danny gave her a sheepish smile and rubbed his hands together. "I mean, they're not so different once you get past the whole giant alien robot thing." He waved his hand to the side. "They have personalities and grudges and, well, issues. A lot of issues. You would honestly love trying to psychoanalyze them, Jazz." Jazz started rubbing her temples. "I don't even know how to respond to that." Danny leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Jazz, I'm fine. I promise. I can handle it. I know how to protect myself." He glanced up at her expression. She seemed more concerned than he originally thought she would. I'm sorry, Jazz. I didn't mean to worry you, but now they're my responsibility in a way. I'm finally getting them to grow their limited views on humans, and I've managed to prevent at least, he looked at the side, counting on his fingers, 20 unnecessary deaths since I moved in, so I count that as a win. Jazz's expression shifted to confusion at something Danny said. He was about to ask her what was wrong before she spoke up. They think you're human. Danny laughed and rubbed the back of his neck again. Ah, right. I don't think they know ghosts exist. They just think I'm a really strange human with no self-preservation skills. I mean, why bust the bubble for them? Danny shrugged with a laugh. Jazz gave a awkward chuckle in response before tilting her head to the side. How, do they possibly think you're human? You have white hair, you glow. There's the fangs, and then the whole pointed ear thing. Have you just been around them in your human form? Danny shrugged. Most of the time in ghost form, actually. But if we come down to Earth, I switch to human so I don't show up on any government radars. They don't find that you can switch forms strange either? She asked, tilting her head to the side. Danny laughed. I mean, technically, they transform too, like cars and jets, so here isn't that different. Danny shrugged again, hands still wrapped around his mug, which he hadn't even sipped from yet. I think I'm the first human they've ever been around. It's honestly really funny seeing how they have no idea how to act around me. Jazz laughed again, and then let out a long breath, eyes fixed on Danny with a thoughtful look. You know, if you somehow ignore the whole alien thing, the way you talk about them kind of reminds me of how you talked about the ghosts. All tough and stabby, but secretly, deep down, they care. Danny smiled brightly, throwing his hands up in excitement. Yeah, that's exactly it. They put on the scary, I'm going to destroy you front. But really, if you dig a little deeper, they're great. I mean, take Skulker. He says he wants my pelt as a trophy, but he helped me take down some of the labs a while back, and he sometimes even gives me self-defense tips mid-fight to make me stronger, even if he claims it's to make me more of a challenge to hunt. I don't think he even wants to skin me anymore. Jazz raised an eyebrow. And these Decepticons? Same thing. They're always posturing and threatening at first, but once they see that I'm not going anywhere, and I can stand up to them, it's different. Like, I actually like being around them. It's weird, I know, but they have kind of become this chaotic family that I never knew I wanted. Jazz leaned forward slightly, resting her chin on her hand. So what are they like? I mean, besides being war machines that want to kill people. Danny smiled, his eyes brightening. Well, Starscream is complicated. He's got this huge ego and is always trying to one-up Megatron, their leader. But when you catch him off guard, he's actually kind of thoughtful and gives me gifts and stuff. Knockout? He's vain, like really vain, but also kind of funny. He's all about his appearance when he secretly loves to explain things to people, even if it is more like he's trying to prove he's better than you. But I help him out with his work all the time, and I go with him down to Earth to help him join street races. And Soundwave, he doesn't talk much, as far as I know. I'm the only person he really talks to besides his minicon, Laser Break, who is like his bird son, but he is honestly really sweet, and is always looking out for me, and I sometimes just get to hang out in the control room while he works. Breakdown is fun to talk to, and he likes to bring me on missions when Knockout can't come. He and Knockout are partners, by the way. Jazz smiled and finally took a sip of her tea. You're right. They do sound fun to psychoanalyze. Danny grinned. Oh, they are. They are like ghosts in a way, too. They are also in a war, so they have a lot of traumatic experience. Plus, they are so old. I mean, these guys have been around for thousands of years, maybe even millions, he continued, gushing over his new friends. He paused, as if something clicked in his mind. Actually, I'm pretty sure they can live forever if they don't get themselves killed. They have a spark in their chest, which is basically a ghost core. So if their body gets too damaged, as long as their spark is okay and has emeragon, sometimes they can change frames. Though, I don't know if they keep their memories. I'll have to ask. He put a finger on his chin. Jazz's expression shifted. She hesitated before speaking again. Danny, do you think that's why you're so drawn to them? Danny raised an eyebrow at her, changed in tone. What do you mean? Maybe it's not just because they're like ghosts. She paused, watching his reaction. What if it's because they can live that long? That if you're friends with people who live for thousands or millions of years, you might not be alone after we're gone. Danny's blood froze, his smile fading. Jazz, he stuttered, his voice unsteady. I'm not thinking about that. Who knows if I'm even immortal or not, right? I can still die. I've done it before, 3 times. He held out 3 fingers and laughed tightly. I'm aging, right? He gestured to his current, not 14-year-old self. So that means I will die when you guys do, right? His voice cracked at the end. Jazz looked up at him with somber eyes, and he felt his core sink. Clockwork said that one day you would become his apprentice, that you'd help him. Then he looked away and threw a hand to his side, his voice rising. That's just what he says. He's like that, Jazz. Always talking about time and the future like he knows everything. That doesn't mean I'm gonna live forever. It couldn't. Danny, Jazz said softly, standing up and moving over to the bed, her cup placed down on the desk. She pulled his out of his hands as well, hands that were now shaking slightly. This was supposed to just be a nice catch-up with his sister, not this. I understand. You don't want to lose us, but one day, when you're older, you might become fully ghost. She paused, reaching out to gently touch his arm. But I'm glad you're finally finding friends who can be there for you. Be there for you longer than I ever can, to protect you. Then he pulled his hands away from her. Standing abruptly, his breathing was shallow, and the room felt too small. He stepped back. No, Jazz, that's not... I don't want them because of that. His throat tightened, and he couldn't bring himself to finish the thought. Jazz stood. Danny, it's okay. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think, maybe, deep down, you're trying to make sure you won't be alone, even when we are gone. Danny's fists clenched. The idea of losing Jazz, of losing Sam, Tucker, it felt unbearable. He shook his head, refusing to accept it. I don't want to think about that, he muttered, his voice strained. Jazz's face softened even more, and she wrapped her arms around him, pulling him into a hug. I know, but things change, and when they do, I want you to have people who can be there for you, people who understand you, even if we can't be. I'm glad you met these guys, Danny. I truly am. Danny stood still in her arms, his body trembling. The thought of outliving everyone he cared about haunted him more than anything ever could. He squeezed his eyes shut and hugged Jazz back.